In Luke chapter 15, and starting in verse 11, Jesus told a story about a father and his two sons. He tells this story to all the tax collectors and the sinners who drew near to him. The Pharisees and scribes also complained that Jesus receives sinners and eats with them. It's a story about love, forgiveness, and coming home. A story about the lost being found. He explains in the following manner. The father had two sons, and he loved them both dearly. The younger son, restless and eager for adventure, asked for his inheritance. He wanted to experience the world and make his own way. His father, with a heavy heart, granted his son's request. The younger son, filled with excitement, took his inheritance and left home. He traveled to a distant land, where he lived a life of extravagance and sin. He spent his days in reckless abandon, squandering his father's hard-earned wealth. But as time passed, his joy turned to emptiness. The prodigal son, as he came to be known, lived only for himself. He indulged in every pleasure, seeking fulfillment in fleeting moments of gratification. He surrounded himself with people who encouraged his reckless behavior, but none of them truly cared for him. He had traded the love and security of his father's home for a life of emptiness and despair. His life of excess soon caught up with him. He spent all his money, and the friends he had made abandoned him. Alone and penniless, he found himself longing for the life he had left behind. He had hit rock bottom, and the weight of his choices pressed down on him. The son was lost and alone in a foreign land. He had spent all his money and had no one to turn to for help. He was forced to take a job feeding pigs, a lowly and degrading task. He was so hungry that he even considered eating the pigs' food. It was in this moment of utter despair that the son finally came to his senses. He realized the depth of his mistake. He had betrayed his father's love and squandered the precious gift he had been given. He knew he had to return home and beg for forgiveness. The son, humbled and broken, decided to return to his father. He knew he didn't deserve forgiveness, but he clung to a glimmer of hope that his father might welcome him back. He set out on the long journey home, his heart heavy with shame and regret. As he approached his father's house, he saw a figure in the distance running towards him. It was his father. Overwhelmed with emotion, the father embraced his son and welcomed him home with open arms. The father, filled with compassion and love, did not hesitate to forgive his son. He had been waiting patiently for his return, his heart aching for his lost child. He ordered a feast to be prepared in his son's honor, celebrating his return. The older son, who had always been faithful and obedient, was angered by his father's reaction. He had never strayed from his father's side, yet he had never received such a lavish celebration. But the father gently reminded him that his brother had been lost and was now found. He was thought to be dead and is now alive again. There is joy in heaven over one sinner who repents. What does this all mean for the children of Israel and the children of God? The parable of the prodigal son is not just a story about a father and his sons. It is a powerful metaphor for God's love for not only the sons of Judah who were leading the people of Jesus' day, but Jesus was additionally referring to the other children of Israel who had gone astray during the diasporas in biblical history. Remember that Jesus said in John chapter 10 specifically that he is the good shepherd of the lost sheep, and in verse 16 states, "And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold. Them also I must bring, and they will hear my voice, and there will be one flock and one shepherd." Like the prodigal son, Israel had strayed from God, chasing after other gods and breaking their covenant with him. As Jesus says at the beginning of Luke chapter 15 and verse 4, "What man of you, having 100 sheep, if he loses one of them, does not leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after the one which is lost until he finds it, and when he has found it, lays hands on it rejoicing?" Throughout their history, the Israelites faced countless challenges and temptations. They often turned away from God, seeking solace in false idols and worldly pursuits. They faced the consequences of their actions, experiencing exile, oppression, and spiritual emptiness. Despite their failings, God never abandoned his people. He continued to reach out to them, offering them forgiveness and a path to redemption in the Messiah. Through the prophets, God reminded Israel of his unconditional love and his promise to restore their fortunes. The story of the prodigal son reminds us that no matter how far we stray from God, he is always waiting to welcome us back with open arms. He is a God who holds fast to his covenants, offering forgiveness and restoration to all who seek him.